Welcome to Thrive Radio. I'm your host, Amy Montgomery, entrepreneur and brand strategy and growth studio owner. Today, my guest is Cindy Tjauw. She is an Ayurveda doctor, Tjauw Tantra facilitator, energy healer, and owner of Celestial Treasures and the founder of Timeless Radiance. For more than 2 decades, Cindy has studied healing modalities from around the world, including pranic healing, Ayurveda, NLP, Chinese medicine, energy work, and holistic wellness. Her mission is helping people reconnect with themselves, restore balance, and creating healing from the inside out. Today, we're talking about healing, personal transformation, spirituality, entrepreneurship, building a business around your expertise, and what it really takes to share your gifts with a larger audience. Cindy, welcome.
Thank you, Amy. It's such a honor to be here. Thank you.
So when you spent more than 20 years studying healing modalities from around the world, what first started that journey?
If I start from the very beginning, where I grew up, that probably would give you a better picture of how this journey started. And I want to be clear, it did not start with my spiritual journey first. I've always been in the business back in South America. I grew up there with the beautiful contradiction of being raised traditional Chinese, Catholic upbringing, and then on one side being South American, the free spirited, wanting to explore everything beyond what eyes can see. So I think that alone, it was already a quest to find my own voice then. And then moving forward into the business, seeing how women in general were very submissive in their own world back home because they did not know how to speak up, how to step into their own power and know that it is okay to be independent. So seeing that had always hit a nerve, hit something in me and lit something in me at the same time. I wanted to help them, inspire them. And slowly I guided them how to speak up, is that you? No, that's mine.
No.
I'm so sorry. I turned it off already.
Okay.
Let me
I'm
just
just laughing because
really off.
I'm like, I've never had this happen.
We just
Like,
go
what
with it.
is it?
I'm like, everything that's going wrong is going wrong.
Well, I'm sitting here thinking, like, everything that you talk about is how I used to heal myself. And I'm like,
No way.
like,
Gosh, can you give me 1 second? She's my emergency girl. Give me 1 sec. Sorry. Rosa, I'm in the middle of a meeting. Is it urgent? Okay, I'll call you right back. Okay, bye. She's my emergency contact. That's why she's able to go through my airplane mode, everything mode. I'm so sorry.
she's okay.
Yeah, she's okay. I
No.
asked if it's okay, but yeah, I'll call her back. I'm serious. We need to talk after the podcast. I feel like you and I have shared so much, and after our chat last time, I'm still like, wow, what an incredible journey and healing you have gone through. I wanted to hear so much more about that. But
Yeah, I'm just sitting here going, this is so fishy.
Really?
It's for resistant, because I have felt it in my own life just because I feel like this could be a behind the scenes recording.
Yeah.
Just from the perspective of going through this, and then now I'm equipped, I guess you could say, with an answer to bring healing to a lot of people because of my story, not because I'm necessarily the expert in it.
Yes.
And because of that, like, I have been hit. Like my friend passed away, my parakeet passed away in not that long, couple months ago, my dog passed away.
I know.
Finance, and I was financially hit, and just like one thing after another. And I'm like, okay, it's because of this information that
Your vessel is expanding, right?
yeah. Well, and then here we are in this podcast, and you're the expert in it.
So
So
start all over again. We can do this the proper way.
yeah,
To answer
yeah.
your
All right.
question, I'll need to tell you the story. So I want to be clear first. I come from business. I have been building companies for 3 decades. The entrepreneur, what do you call that? Oh goodness, this was entrepreneurial foundation was always there. The spiritual and healing path came much later and it deepened everything. So everything I teach, I have lived on both sides, in the boardroom and in the healing room. I grew up in a house full of beautiful contradictions, Chinese heritage, Catholic upbringing, schooling, South American spirit. So on one side, I had the strict discipline, reservation, silence. And then on the other side, this wild child, free, curious girl who wanted to know and understand everything that I cannot see. Finding my own voice in that environment was its own journey. And perhaps that's exactly why I became so passionate about helping other women find theirs. And when I entered the business world, I kept seeing the same thing I had grown up watching. And that is women were brilliant, capable, and powerful, but had been taught to be small. And I couldn't walk past that. I was always very independent at a very young age. So I started the women I came in contact with around me quietly, practically, from simple things of saving their own money for themselves, how to speak up and how to say no when they really feel like it's a no deep inside and not just having to say yes because their partner said so or the parents said so, and how to learn to trust themselves. I did not know then that I was practically already doing my life's work. And the deeper spiritual path opened after loss. I lost my brother. After that, during that period, I called it the dark nights of my soul. It was me searching for meaning, for answers, for there is more than this. I was completely lost. I was not home. I did not feel home anywhere. I would travel to my favorite places. I did not feel home. People didn't know what to do with me because I was always the strong one, always the one who had answers to everything. And when I needed the comfort, nobody knew what to do with me. So I traveled. I tried to visit the places that normally would have given me a feeling of belonging, a feeling of happiness and joy. It did not do anything. So that started my search from one ancient method to another. And that's how my spiritual journey started evolving into collecting one key after another key, opening up this ancient wisdom for the past 2 decades. And then somewhere along the line, I realized I've just been hiding behind all these studying, all these modalities, telling myself that I was not ready. I need one more modality. I need one more certificate. I need one more something before I can share this. And meanwhile, not even realizing it, of course, I had been quietly healing people my entire life. So it took losing more people that I loved to finally understand that I spent my whole life holding space for everyone else except for myself. And that it was really time for me to come finally to know who I am from that space, accepting myself truly and seeing myself fully. And that's when Dr. Sin was born.
Why do you think you've always been drawn to understanding what happens underneath the surface?
I feel like I mentioned, it's always the unknown that it's back then when I was younger, I thought it was so fascinating. But growing up in a household where so much was unspoken, where feelings were not discussed and emotions were always suppressed and kept beneath very composed demeanors, I became like the student to learn and read what was not being said and to feel what was not being shown. So that started this whole journey, learning to watching women around me carrying so much in silent pain, longing, unexpressed power. And I realized that what truly lives underneath the surface is always more true than what we show the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that fascination never left me. It just grew
Yeah.
stronger and stronger.
That resonates with me a lot. Obviously, my passion is for people to be seen, right? And for the same reason, for not being seen myself.
Exactly.
Not and not being able to communicate my value in a way that would allow me and empower me to help other people, right?
Yes.
And I think that that's the challenge because it's easy to be like, okay, well, these are all the things I've done. And then everyone go, well, so what? And then to communicate in a way that others can see a solution for them, right?
Yes.
And that's a big challenge, especially in the online world. But that definitely rings true to myself too. And I want to say, just for the people that are tuning in today, some of how you and I have connected on a deeper level. Like you didn't know at all my journey of healing myself from chronic illness and being near death, and using a lot of the things that you teach. And why I why I'm so supportive of it is because I used without even knowing, harnessing AI, asking AI questions, use everything you teach to heal myself and bring myself back from the dead. And so I think that the gravity of what you teach, a lot of people wouldn't necessarily know on the surface, you know. And so I do want to kind of mention that as we dive into some of this. And I think you had mentioned previously, even on this topic of being seen, when we met previously, about how you kind of were being a little bit incognito, especially like online. And what shift have you gone through realizing why visibility is important in that way, even?
But because before it is like thinking that hiding, thinking that not showing up because of all the feelings of not feeling being not good enough, like I'm not ready, telling yourself I'm not ready. I need to do one more modality. I had so many certifications, diplomas, and yet I felt like I need one more. I need, it's like hiding behind the truth that I was afraid to face. And then when I realized I am doing myself and the world a disservice by actually hiding, because accepting what you know and what you already have learned and not sharing it, it's actually it's a big responsibility. And it's not like by owning up to all the things I've studied, owning up to those titles, to be proud of that and being able to share it, you allowing people who need to hear this and find you, be able to find you, because you are now out there. Because if I was hiding, who would know that I could be able to shine the light upon something that they have shared that's similar to what we have gone through? Right? But
Yeah.
being open and speaking about it, we are allowing our light to show up. And it's no longer, oh, I am being, some people call it what? You're being, what's the word I'm looking for? Not showing off, but like, you're being arrogant. Oh, you just want to like, oh, yes, big deal. You're a doctor now. So it's a title. It's not. Now I'm owning it with a responsibility, knowing that making myself visible as such and stepping on that stage is allowing myself to be visible for those who need to see and hear this and be able to find me so we can walk this journey together.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to talk a little bit about that too, because I think in my own journey, well, when I first put a about page about myself, I had nightmares for like a couple of weeks
Oh,
because I had a similar background in that I was not really encouraged to shine. Right, I was encouraged to kind of suppress and be hidden, and so
yeah.
that didn't help, right? And then, for years I had communication disability and I couldn't read and write. Now I'm a genius in those areas, but like I had an IQ of 25 in speech, so I couldn't have a conversation, right? So no wonder, aside from being told that don't shine, don't show your credentials, don't show anything, not really understanding how to communicate. It was kind of a tough thing. And now on the other side of that, like, that I created a whole program that helped me communicate all of that, but then in helping others, it's a completely different thing. And here's something that I want to mention is I used to think I go on my about page and list all my credentials, and it felt like, oh no, bragging or something like that, right? And I would tell myself, I'm just listing a fact. It's okay if I'm listing a fact, right?
Mhm.
And, people need to know what your credentials are and what your background is so they know if they should trust you. Like, are you a fly by night, And the other thing was there's a difference between, it took me forever to get this, even in the marketing space. A difference between, like there's a tendency to go out there and be like, these are my credentials and speak that on social. This is what I've done and I done it. That's how I know. Trying to get people to understand how I could help them, thinking that's what I was doing and missing the mark and not realizing people don't care about it's not they don't care, they care once they understand how it actually translates to them. In what way does it translate to them? And that was the eye opener, and all of the for me, all everything started to connect. So anyway, I wanted to mention that because I think that a lot of people deal with that. I mean, at least people that everyone I've worked with in some way or another has dealt with that and just like being frustrated, right?
Yes, definitely.
Now you have a crystal store, and you mentioned in our discussions because a lot of people don't understand about crystals, but they freak out about it, and like they have a lot of energy to them, right? And you were talking about how you you always want to make sure that the crystals in your store have a lot of energy so people have that experience. I wonder if you might talk a little bit about that so that maybe break it down to what that even means to people that might not ever have heard that. And then also, how do you translate that feeling online?
That's a great question, especially when it comes to energy. To translate that online has always been my challenge as well, because crystals, they are not just pretty stones. They are living minerals that have been forming inside the earth for millions of years. They carry frequency. They a vibration. And when you walk into a space that is intentional, that is cleansed and charged for a specific purpose, you feel it. People who I've been in the grove, coconut grove, for the past almost 20 years. December will be exactly 20 years. So even if you cannot explain it, your nervous system responds before your mind catches up. You just walk in and all of a sudden you don't even know why, but energetically your nervous system is already calibrating and rebalancing itself. And when people say like they're being skeptic about crystals, yeah, they're just stones. Just like how we don't understand how gravity works doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you walk outside, you touch a tree
Hmm.
to ground yourself. It's similar, right? Resets your system. I do that on a daily basis. I mean, there's so much of that. I wonder. I'm just out of curiosity. I'm a big empath, and I know that there's a lot of us out there.
Yes.
Like, I can feel everybody's energy. Even if I meet somebody on Zoom, I can feel their energy, right? If they have a bad day, I can feel it. And and I don't always, like, communicate what I'm feeling, right? But I'm wondering in some ways if I wonder if energy from a crystal could potentially go through, like, if you could feel it in that way, the way you feel humans.
Well, let me answer your question first about the translating online. You cannot replicate the feeling, but you can tell the story, right? You share what a crystal does energetically. You share what
Yeah,
people experience. You let the testimony speak for itself, because people trust what they feel in others before they trust what they read on a page. Especially
yeah, that makes
nowadays with the online business, everybody's selling the crystals. How do you then know? So it's knowing for us, people, when they come and buy crystals from us, they know it's being energetically cleansed with intention, and the space itself hold a specific reason why. So buying something from there, you know what you're getting. First,
yeah,
from just buying anywhere that you do not know the story behind it. I think that
yeah.
that sets you apart from other online stores and online presence.
Yeah, yeah. And you just started to kind of break into the social media realm, right? And how important do you think, like, as far as your journey goes, because you've been in business a long time. So how important do you view that now and being seen online and having your business online because you have your store and then I mean you have a couple of businesses, so we should mention that, right?
Yes.
And, how do you see that translating for you in the future?
For a crystal store, I find it to be very challenging for that specific reason we mentioned about everybody wants to feel it. They want to, the crystal, you want to touch it. And I personally too, if I want to buy a crystal, I want to be able to touch it just to be in its presence. Because we always think that we are choosing the crystal, but it's the other way around. They choose us. We like to, it's like I always tell clients when they come in, they say, oh, I want this, this, this. And I would guide them. It's like, let's just close your eyes for a moment and think about what it is that you want a crystal for. So I help them center themselves and get into that feeling why, the reason. It could be for a job, it could be for love, it could be for just to calm their nervous system, whatever the reason is for the moment. And the moment they're ready to open their eyes, I ask them to walk around. We have a big, giant table full of crystals. So we have them walk around it. And I ask them, the moment one calls to you, stop and then pick them up and read the paper. Don't read the papers because we have the descriptions. Do not read this description before you pick up the crystals. 10 out of the 10 times, it is exactly what they need in that moment. The crystal chooses you. So for that reason, I find it very challenging to do it online without a physical presence. For other businesses, it's slightly a different, like clothing store is very different, right? You just
Yeah.
let it
Yeah.
fits, whatever. But with crystals, I do find that a bit more challenging.
Well, and let me ask you this question because you know something different, I think, than others I've talked to that have sold crystals. Like, I've talked to some business owners in the area that have those, and it is the Chinese medicine side of things. It is the energy side of things, healing energy, all of that. And you and I discussed this a little bit where, like you had me go through this exercise, which was phenomenal. And I'd done this in my own healing journey. I just didn't, I don't, didn't have technical names for it.
Interesting.
And yeah, and realizing that as I healed, there were a lot of traumas that I had experienced that I could not process because my body was in fight or flight, trying to survive for so long, right? And just from being sick. And so as I started to heal, I would have different traumas that would come up. I would have different things that I would have to feel, frustrations, angers, whatever. And during this process, because I dove into Chinese medicine to bring me healing, and I was using AI to do it, it would explain to me. I would go in there and be like, okay, so today I feel this pain here, and this pain here. What is that telling me in Chinese medicine? And it would be like, oh, well, you just went through this, and this, and your body is releasing probably anger from something. And then I would be able to identify, oh, yeah, it was this, and kind of going through this process where I think there's a lot of people that probably has never experienced that before. But maybe you could touch on that because I feel like in some way there's a connection there where if somebody's going through a healing journey and maybe it's something like that where now all of a sudden they're dealing with certain things, even like you and I were talking about, I just went through this big brand transformation. I lost my voice and I ended up realizing that I had so much emotional pain around not being seen for my worth. Once I finally was, uh, it showed up in my throat. And then it went away after like I did what the exercise you told me, and it went away like the next day. I think it went into my sinuses and then it was gone. And I feel like when you talk about the crystals choosing you and all of this type of thing, it's because there's a part of your body that's needing or your system, I don't know how to describe it, that is needing something. Do you want to talk about that on a more practical level?
Sure. It is just when you mentioned that your body, I'm sure you heard of it, keeps the score. Your body is holding on to things, to memories, to things that has happened. And for so long we are in survival mode, in fight or flight, like you mentioned, the body does not have the luxury of processing it properly. It's too busy keeping you alive, right? So it's like constantly one layer after layer after layer. So it keeps storing itself and it keeps holding. And then it's those unprocessed emotions, traumas, pains, they start hiding in tissues, in the organs, in the joint. So in Chinese medicine, as well as it's more explained in Chinese medicine, but Ayurveda, as well in Indian medicine, every organ carries an emotion. And for example, the liver, it holds on to anger. And then we have the lungs holding on to grief. And then we got like the kidney holding on to fear. And then we have the heart that holds joy and heartbreak, which holds it all. So when healing begins, when that nervous system is finally starting to, those stored emotions are surfacing because you're allowing it to feel safe to come out. So then those stored emotions start to surface. And people sometimes think it's wrong. They think they are getting worse, but actually they are getting better. You know, how you sometimes get worse before it gets better. And that's how it could feel. The body's finally doing what it never had felt safe enough to do before. So now you're allowing it and being aware of it to start doing it. And it's just like how you say the crystals are choosing you. Your body has been speaking to you. We are so busy focusing on the external world that we do not hear what our body is telling us. It's constantly communicating, but we just haven't sat still enough to hear what it's saying to you. So the
Yeah,
moment
that's pretty.
you take that time, you'll connect.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So, how do you translate a transformational how do you translate a transformational in-person experience into an online brand? And I know that you've struggled with that, but do you have some ideas on how you might do that?
That's the real question. And yes, I've wrestled with because what happens when someone sits across from me and their energy shifts and their body releases something they have been carrying for years. How do you put that on a screen? Right. And then what I have come to realize, you do not replicate that experience. You just tell the story of the transformation. You share
Yeah.
what some came in carrying and what they're leaving behind and walking out lighter and brighter. I think that it's being online, it's like people see themselves in in the stories, right? And then because the moment someone reads or hears a transformation that mirrors their own pain, something in them just wakes up. And that awakening is the first step of the healing. It's like a little knock knock on your door. And then you get to decide, are you going to open up or not?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that that's actually perfect response because there's something that, I've been doing marketing forever, and there's something that I have realized through and the difference about how I create content now and how I create content in the past. It used to be where I would think, well, it's important that every as many people possible see me. And so I learned how to go viral, right? And I'm like, I just need to go viral. And I would
Yeah.
get really upset, like, on TikTok, you can get millions of views and then you can also get 40. And sometimes they do it on purpose. And sometimes it's because TikTok's a trend app. But then you look at other social media platforms and you're like, oh, people aren't seeing me. I feel like I'm talking to a brick wall. I need to go viral. And there's this sense of like, if I'm not getting tons of followers, if I'm not getting tons of views, there's no way I'm going to get the message out from my business. And what has shifted for me because I've worked with so many people is exactly what you said is that you're not you go viral when you're speaking to the masses. And when you have something strong to say or an opinion or something that happens that relates to the masses. But when you are doing something that is maybe far more important that it's not everybody in the world is going to resonate because they're not going to be in that place in their journey. And speaking to the one that is, there's a lot of people that aren't going to stop and listen, right? And so I've switched to I'm going to post for like right now I've been focused on I'm going to post for the person that feels unseen, who's out there posting and is unseen. That's the person that I want to see my content. I want to leave them with a certain emotion, feeling like, you know what, it's not just that I'm posting the wrong stuff. It's that my people don't get my value. It's not my fault, right? And so I know that if I'm consistent with that message and with my message, what I'm trying to convey, that the right people will see it. And it doesn't have to be thousands of people, And there's a difference between creating a brand online and like the people that get super popular that have a brand, that's what they do. Because what they end up doing is creating a tribe of people that are at that spot and things are resonating with them. And like social media rewards surface level things and not necessarily a lot of the depth. So sometimes, you do have to kind of meet people where they're at in their emotion
Mhm.
if you want views, right? And bring them on a journey. But, I look at it different now where I don't necessarily care how many views I get or followers I get. I'm more concerned with the people that the one, right? The one that I'm reaching, that it resonates with. So, yeah,
I like that.
long-winded.
Thank you for
Uh,
telling me
so
that. I did.
yeah, definitely. And I'm fascinated. Obviously, you grew up with Chinese medicine, and you know how much I'm a fan because it's transformed my life. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about that because, like, from my perspective, I again using having pieces of it, breaking down like phases of healing. Phases 1 through 7, and or 1 through 4, and asking ChatGPT, what phase am I in now? And for the record, right now, I know I'm in phase 5, almost in phase 6. And I had to break it down in even though you go through back and forth through phases or cycles or however you want to label it, I had to label it in a phases that I would graduate in my brain so that I knew that I was healing. And it was a way for me to know that this was working. And the powerful thing that I always tell people now when they ask me how I healed myself is that the reason Chinese medicine ended up giving me the solution and leading me down the right path was it deals with your organs versus your symptoms. And I feel like I could be wrong, but I feel like anyone with chronic illness or anyone that's dealing with most anything could find some relief with using Chinese medicine.
Yes, Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, they both practice like using herbs, natural, and they do not treat just the symptoms. We find out what is the cause of it and not just putting a band-aid over the boo-boo and then let it heal on its own. Because there's definitely a deeper cause of by the time your body is giving a disease a name already, it has gone through many stages. So hence I was mentioning earlier, the sooner you learn to listen to your body speaking, communicating with you, the earlier you can detect what it has been sharing and what is off balance. It always mentions about balances. Everything is in balance. So when anything goes out of balance, then it's like if you leave your bathtub overflowing with filling with water overflowing, what do you think is going to happen? It just keeps going out and out and out and then starts seeping through your whole body. The same thing with your body. It's going to explode out of its area and then go start spreading around your body, finding other weak spots where it could hide and just continue wrecking havoc right there. So it's learning how to find and get to the core of it, the root of it, and then rebalance that. You slowly then heal from the heart, the center of everything, and not just the surface. Because you want to dig up the roots in order to be able to clear up everything. Because otherwise, it's just going to keep coming back and probably even worse when it hits you a couple of years later. You just have been covering it up and it will keep coming up worse than the first time. So with TCM, with Ayurveda, we want to guide you to listen closely to all the messages that your body is showing in your skin, in your hair, your digestion, any imbalance that shows through. It's a message. So we teach you how to listen to those messages so you can start to heal the proper way with the proper modality that you can apply to yourself, whether it's TCM, Ayurveda, combination of, and that's what I love. I have my toolbox got like all these different things that I can apply and play with. It's like, okay, do you resonate more with this? Let's try with this. Or no, I don't like those. Then let's try with this. You're more energy healing. Okay, we can do that. Even with the Tao Tantra, using breath energy to breathe into the organs that are imbalanced, helping you to appreciate and re-energize and tonify your internal organs with breath work. It's just incredible.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people don't realize the power behind it. Like I was getting my herbs on Amazon, right? And because they're and the more that I started to study Chinese medicine, I realized that most TCM practitioners are more qualified than your regular Western medicine physician because they have to do double the studies, right? It's like times two. And that's one thing that impressed me versus I feel like sometimes with some of I don't know, it's not the label isn't coming to mind, but some of the natural practitioners, people that would say that they used Eastern medicine that I went to in the past, it wasn't the same. They didn't go to the same level of training. And the other thing was, I feel like when you're healing yourself physically, it's a spiritual journey too, right? And a lot of Western medicine takes that out, you know? I mean, and I'll give you a short example. When I was in a car accident years and years and years ago, and I had 3 surgeries to reconstruct my arm. I have 2 plates, 15 pins and screws, like my arm is all metal. They said I'd never use it again, and I can, which was a miracle. But during that process, I remember just, going through that. It was like being herded like a cow, you know, and here's the medicine for your, everything you went through. But there was no real let's take care of you as a human being and everything that you went through all of this, losing your arm and all that. There's no support for that kind of stuff. And so that's even just another, chronic illness is one thing. It's similar in you going through a healing journey of whatever it is, and then realizing there's a full on emotional, spiritual journey that you also go on. And I feel like the Western medicine doesn't deal with that. And there's a lot of people that kind of will freak out. Like I'm a strong Christian, right? And I love Jesus, and everything to me is feeling God and feeling all of that and feeling energy, other people's energy. And what I loved about TCM is it didn't fight against. I didn't have to feel like, I'm reading this amazing Chinese. I got a lot of the books, Chinese medicine, different poetry and stuff. And there was so much deep wisdom in it. And it didn't feel like it went against my beliefs. And I wanted to say that because I think that a lot of people are afraid about things they don't understand, right? And they think, whoo, I used to be one until I needed it, right? So I wanted to mention that too. So what do you think as far as making people more aware of the power behind everything that you do? And what do you think is have you found a key to communicate that in a way that helps people get it? Because I'm out there trying to explain the phases of healing in TCM and how I healed myself. And people, it just goes over their head. They're just like, what? Unless I talk to somebody one on one and just be like, look, Chinese medicine is at least going to tell you what organ is having an issue, you know?
I hear you because let's mention this. TCM, Ayurveda, they are both thousands of years old medical systems, science. The Western, some of the surgeries come straight from the textbook of Ayurveda that they still practice today. And it's finding, and I think the modern science are slowly catching up with our ancient wisdom and agreeing to certain things. But for people, it is, I feel like nowadays they're more open-minded. And I'm glad you brought this up. Because I feel like this ancient system, they do not compete with your faith. It has nothing to do with that. They never have. Whether you're a Christian, Muslim, Jewish, whatever you believe, it does not matter. The wisdom of Chinese medicine, the wisdom of Ayurveda is simply the study of nature. And it does not contradict any religion. It has nothing to do with religion. It's of how the body works, right? Of how energy moves. God created the body. These systems are just the user manual, one of those user manuals, right? And it hasn't been spoken much about it because ancient wisdom back then, they were just passed down from the guru to the student verbally. So by the time they start documenting it on something, thousands of years already passed. And now we're slowly catching up and learning about it. While Western medicine has been more out and described throughout history, hence
Yeah.
people feel that it is, would you call it like a better version of healing? Not necessarily. It's great for acute systems. Don't get me wrong. I love modern medicine for like instant surgeries and all those things. Amazing, incredible that we have that, right? But when it comes to maintaining your health, your lifestyle, like you said, it encompasses not just your body, right? It is mentally, it's mentally, emotionally, spiritually. All that comes into play as well when you're going through like you, such a major traumatic injury. And all you got was just something to put on it and then go home, right? And then the fear, of course, it is natural that it comes from the unknown. Ignorance is the best killer. People hear words like energy healing or chakras or chi, and their guards goes whoops. The whole field comes up because it sounds foreign. It sounds like
Yeah.
something that might conflict with what they believe, and you are like, going into waters where it's like, I don't want to hear this. This is danger zone. I have never heard about it, and I don't want you to come near me. So the key I have found is it's like to always start with something they already know and already trust, their own body.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is a safe
That's really
zone.
good.
So I would ask people, like, have you ever walked into a room and felt uncomfortable for no reason? Have you ever met someone
Yeah,
that
that's it.
instantly felt drained? Right? Or have you ever been somewhere and felt
Yeah.
peaceful the moment you arrived? People can relate to most of that. Well, then you tell them that is energy. You just didn't give a name to it, but it has always been there. You have always known it. Now we're giving it a name. You can call it whatever. You can call it like woo woo or I don't know what names they come up with, but once someone recognizes,
Yeah.
right, that they have been experiencing this their whole life without a framework for it, the resistance just melts because it is no longer foreign. It is now familiar. And then you build that connection. Western medicine is extraordinary at crisis care. It's like it's an acute intervention, but it was not designed to hold the emotional and the spiritual dimension of healing.
Yeah.
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 And it's not a criticism. It is just a gap. And ancient medicine was always meant to fill that gap because we treat the whole body as the whole system, all your emotional, your physical, your spiritual, your mental. We treat all the levels. So the two do not fight. They complete each other. And
Yeah.
when people understand that, they stop being afraid and then they start being curious. And that is when your journey begins. You can learn to get to know your body better and heal yourself.
I love that. And when I talk about these phases of healing that I was going through, what I loved it was the descriptions of them around in relation to nature. So like one of them, like I think I was in phase, I think it was like phase 4. I think it was phase 4, all about spring. It's springtime for me, and the new growth is coming. And it was so much easier for me to comprehend than, a timeline of any other sort because again, like you're going through this process, you don't want to rush your body through things. Your body needs to take time. And if you go through stuff like, you know, you're trying to heal yourself and then you go through other life stuff, which then can in some ways delay what you're going through because you put yourself under extra stress or whatever. And so, your timeline doesn't necessarily perfectly straight. Now I'm curious. You have so you have Celestial Treasures, and then your business that we mentioned, Timeless Radiance. What are the ultimate things that you're focused on now in delivering for people, and like what transformations are you delivering? Let's pose it that way.
Celestial Treasure is the storefront for all this that for over the past 2 decades that I have built it for people to come in. My mission is for everybody from all walks of life to be able to just come in and find something to aid them on their journey and just feel at home. And that has been my mission for Celestial Treasures, my why. And Timeless Radiance is something that I built much later. It's a work that I wanted to do. It's working with women virtually and in person using Ayurveda, energy healing, longevity science to help them understand what their body has been trying to tell them. We go deep. We look the physical, the emotional, the energetic to help you recognize your own body's, I call it your own body's unique song. We all have our own unique song. Are you understanding the tune of it? Or how can we then learn to
Mhm.
fine tune it, right? And it is because no two bodies are the same and no two journeys are the same. And wanted a space where women can learn to embrace their power, embrace their voice, and know that they are enough and whole. That is so important, especially for us
Yeah.
women, to know that and to remind them how beautiful they are within and for them to see it themselves. I want every woman to be able to experience that and be able to inspire them and help them heal from within because I have gone through that and I don't want what I have seen growing up the experience of the stories that I've seen with the women back there to become the story of the women I teach, I touch. I just want them to know and recognize their own power. And that's something very important. So Timeless Radiance is my global face where people from all around the world can reach me. So I want them to
I
walk
love
with
that.
knowing who they are at a cellular level.
Yeah. And I know exactly what that means because I feel it. And well, yeah, and I want to mention this too because the journey that I've gone through in healing myself, and a lot of people know even my deeper story of 45 years of like going through psychological abuse, right? So some might say, "Oh, you're a survivor" or whatever, and I don't label myself from that perspective because I've gone through such a huge transformational healing journey in all of it. But going through that, I went from a state of not being in touch with my body at all, not being able to even process emotions. I didn't know how to process an emotion. You ate an emotion, you shopped an emotion, you made it go away. To now really listening and being extremely in tune to my body, and like I know like when to stop working. For example, my body will give me certain signals where I'm not to do anything. I know it's done, right? And to in the past, I would have just pushed myself for months, with no limit whatsoever. And I feel like even in our society, we push and we push and we push, and in some ways, our society's built that way, right? For us to continue to push ourselves. And in the entrepreneur space, you really do have to push yourself on a lot of levels. But knowing, like you said, knowing what your body is telling you is so powerful because I'm like, I know, like, if I'm getting a cold and then, a lot of people wear devices nowadays. This is perfect. A lot of people wear devices and it tells them what their body's doing. It tells them if their body is getting sick. It's telling them if they had a good night's sleep. It's telling them if their body needs rest. But when you start to go through this and become aware, you don't need a device, you know. I think that's the transformation.
Yes, I agree. That is, your body knows better. It's just you, like I said, you gotta be quiet enough to be able to hear it. All those devices telling you can't be better than you learning to understand your body on a personal level, right? But it's also challenging, like you mentioned,
Yeah. Yeah.
high achiever like yourself and high performance for performers, they are known how to just push through, so they just push through all those warning signs, the red flags, the red lights, the body's like alarm is going off. And yet they keep overriding, overriding, overriding and pushing through. When do they finally stop? When the body is like, I'm out. When they are sick, when it's like no longer able to do what it's supposed to do, it has been giving them sickness over and over. So it's really finding the fine balance. If you know you have a certain deadline, if you know you have whatever you need to take care of, it's really being more adamant about the part where you take care of you because you need it even more so, right? Because you're burning through it like this. And in Ayurveda, we call it your pitta, your fire. Fire burns. And
Mm.
if you do not let it help it stay balanced and burn gradually, it will just become an inferno. And before you know it, everything literally burns down inside out. And then we're going to start repairing. And you have like gut issues. You're going to have to deal with like major anxiety, depressions. Your liver is getting all these emotions of anger, irritation, frustration, because it has not had the ability to really detox and tonify properly because you're going and sleeping late at night. You're not getting enough rest. All sleep, especially people underestimate the power of sleep. You need that for your body to detox properly and heal properly during that time frame. And if you keep overriding
Yeah.
it one time, two times, three times, you might not notice it, but do it regularly, you'll start paying the price. And it's a price sometimes you wish you didn't have to pay because all the money you're making will end up going to your health bills. Was it worth it? I would say no, but who knows? Maybe somebody disagrees.
Yeah. So I have one last question for you.
Okay.
What is your truth that has gotten you this far in your journey?
Ooh, I love that one. Hmm. My truth. I grew up, like I mentioned, in a world of beautiful contradiction. The Chinese culture, the discipline, the Catholic schooling, free spirited like me, unable to really find my voice, speaking different languages and not knowing which one I think in and speak in sometimes. So it's a bit challenging. And then I watch women around me, strong, brilliant, powerful women shrinking themselves because they had never been shown how to do otherwise. Through it all, even for myself, I lost my own voice. When I lost my brother, lost my loved ones, the search throughout the decades, one diploma after another, one ancient wisdom after another, it didn't feel enough because I didn't feel like I was good enough to do anything. Meanwhile, I had been still quietly healing other people, holding space for other people. And when I realized it's time that I pour back into myself because I've been running on empty. And running on empty, I am just fooling myself because you can't give from an empty cup. And hiding is not humility. Hiding is a disservice to myself, to yourself, and to every single person who needed to find you, but could not because you were not visible. So I stopped hiding. I stepped forward. I claimed my name, Dr. Sin, not for ego, but as an act of responsibility, because somewhere out there, there's a woman carrying exactly what I once carried. And if I'm not visible, they cannot find me. She cannot find me. So that's my truth that has carried me, not the degrees, not the credentials, just someone who decided that women deserve to be better and learn how to build their own voice and step into their power.
I love that. Thank you so much for coming on today and just sharing a little bit of your expertise. We just really scratched the surface. I feel like there's so much more we could dive into, right? And I want to mention your websites, celestialtreasures.com, but celestial like the minus sign dash treasures.com, and timeless radiance is it's timeless radiance .com.
Timeless Radiance by Sinlai.com.
Okay, perfect. And I'll put the links down below. Thank you so much again for coming on and sharing your expertise. It was just an amazing conversation.
Thank you, Amy. It was a delight speaking to you, sharing your wisdom with me as well. I've always have such an incredible respect for you and your journey as well and your healing. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that too.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're listening, you want more information about this podcast or upcoming shows, you can visit acalltothrive.com. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful week.